noisier? A little bit more? Great. Okay, thank you so much. So let's move on to the next panel discussion for the day, which will be on the topic buying cloud well. For this, the moderator will be Mr. Sivakumar Krishnasamy, Senior Director, Yubi. I request you to please join me on the stage. And the panelists are Ms. Shivapriya Sivaraman, Senior Director, Enterprise Data Platforms, PayPal. Dr. Vani Gopalan, IT Director and India COE Leader, Flowserve Corporation. Mr. Panelists Nachimuthu, CIO, GMM Co. Limited. Yes, over to you, Mr. Sivakumar.
Good evening, all. It's like speaking in a political party. There are a lot of empty chairs. So let's start. We won't make you bored because for now it is an essential topic like casting cloud well. Like in every company, I think in my company, wherever we go, we talk about cost, and some of them might be feared of layoff, but we are not doing that. But we try to reduce the cost in the cloud by negotiating or a lot of aspects we are applying there. And let's start with that. I am Sivakumar, and I am working for Yubi, which is a fintech. Became a unicorn in 18 months. And it became a 1.3 billion valuation. And it's like pre-17 years I worked for technology company, and working for fintech, it's like a lot of jargons like revenue, cash flow, everything we will come to know. And you know, right, they mostly work on interest calculations or everything. It's a completely a data-driven debt platform. So we are lending, we have a complete from underwriting to collections. We have everything in our in-house company, in-house products. And the company definitely, finance company means they will work for a single penny will be a matters to us. My CEO used to say, as well as one more thing is like company provide ESOPs to all the employees. Most of the employees will own the ESOPs, and they will make us a owner for the company, and they will say that if you save a 1 rupee, it is equal to a 40 rupees because company valuated 40 times. Then 1 rupee you add to the revenue, that it's equal to 40 rupees, which is like a 40 times. So the optimization is like a key thing here. So the topic also relates to that. So we will start the journey. And I will ask, start from Shivapriya. So you can.
Sure. So good evening, everyone. And I'm Shivapriya. It's an absolute honor and privilege to be part of this panel and to be able to learn and share from this fantastic forum. So I work as a senior director for enterprise data platforms for PayPal. And prior to PayPal, I have worked at Alcatel-Lucent, Huawei Technologies, and InvestNet Yardley, and overall have more than 2 decades of experience in this industry. I head the portfolio called Data Central in PayPal and lead a global engineering team spread across US, India, and Tel Aviv in Israel. My team is essentially responsible for a lot of crucial aspects of data, including data discovery, data classification, data movement. How do we handle data applications in the life cycle through a CI/CD platform where it will help people to build, deploy, test, manage their data applications, which are actually foundational building blocks to any cloud migration journey. As all of you would be knowing that PayPal has been in the digital payments revolution, in the forefront of digital payments revolution for more than 2 decades now, and has a customer base of 450 million plus customers spread across 200 countries, and in the process made dozens of acquisitions. And hence the data landscape or the footprint has become extremely multifaceted and complex. So we are right now in a very cusp of transformation and in a very, very exciting journey where we are actually reimagining, relaying the foundations of enterprise data platforms or modern data platforms, I would call, which is grounded up from off-the-shelf components, open source, and modern data pipelines that can help build and manage data at scale. So we are also in the process or in a mission of consolidating disparate data warehouses and data lakes and consolidating into one data lake house on the Google's cloud platform, and which is built on the principles of modern data mesh architecture. And my teams have been heavily engaged or relentlessly working over the last 18 months in moving the big data analytics infrastructure from on-prem to cloud. And in this journey, like, moving all the workloads that run on Teradata Hadoop infrastructure onto the cloud, and have a lot of learnings in this process. So we have built, the enterprise metadata platform that can help or facilitate data discovery from, and is being powered by a lot of off-the-shelf industry tools like Collibra and open, Data Hub, which is LinkedIn's open source platform that can help or facilitate data discovery of against millions of data sets. We have 500 plus petabytes of data, which is hosted on 23 or 24 different data stores. And not only it helps in the search and discovery, but also provides you data lineage, which talks about all the different dependencies, which is very crucial for any kind of a cloud migration journey. We've also built a lot of in-house data scanning systems, which are, have the ability of classifying data which contains any personal or sensitive data in terms of PII, PCI, which is being powered by probably 200 plus models, machine learning models and regression algorithms. We've built data movement that can handle petabytes of data from moving from Oracle, Teradata, Hadoop on-prem to BigQuery, GCP Hive on cloud, and vice versa, which is based upon the Hadoop's, which is based upon Apache Goblin's framework. And a lot of such tools where we have completely automated the process of how workloads on-prem would be converted into the cloud. So overall, it's been a very incredible journey in terms of the cloud migration, and I would be happy to share more through the conversation and pass it on to the next Vani for introduction.
Thank you, Sivakumar. Good evening, everyone. This is Vani Gopalan. It's really exciting and indeed a pleasure to be here this evening to share my experience on Cloud Journey. So before that, I would like to quickly introduce myself. So I work for Flowserve. That's a manufacturing organization. We are into manufacturing of pumps, valves, and seals predominantly, and we cater into oil and gas industry. Along with that, we are also currently into desalinization process, and we are also entering into IoT of things in terms of providing value-add services to our customers. So what is my experience on cloud? So we as an organization from an IT landscape standpoint, we have a very, very, very complex IT landscape in terms of managing almost 140 applications. And that led us into moving or transforming into the ERP transformation journey. So what we did as part of that is not only we moved from the legacy applications into SAP S/4HANA and also the latest and greatest technologies, but cloud migration also became one of our strategy. And if you read through Gartner, Gartner says like by 2025, most of the organization, almost 85% of the organizations will be embracing the cloud first mindset. So with that in mind, we've made judicious decisions in making sure that all our landscapes are on cloud. And I'm also going to share some interesting lessons learned as part of this, because my journey with this company has really, really helped me to deep dive and dwell into cloud migrations where we did something really first time right, but where we also did not do things first time right, and we had to really learn from our experiences with the help of our service partners. So that's about it. And I lead the IT organization from India here for Flowserve, and we are a global organization headquartered in Dallas. So my personal objective is to enable 1 million IT graduates, enter into corporate journey. So that is my personal objective. And I'm really, really taking a lot of efforts to actually help and drive this initiative so that we can leave that as a legacy when we are developing the next generation. Thank you.
Good evening, all. That was very interesting, Vani. So that now explains, your prefix of doctor. So there is a meaning to it. Yeah. Good evening, all. So very excited to see, a very large gathering. And it's a very relevant topic for most of us. I'm Palani. I'm heading IT for Gemco. We are part of CK Birla Group. So prior to joining Gemco in 2020, I was working with Infosys, Robert Bosch, and AstraZeneca. So this was my first domain organization. So like many other companies, especially the domain organizations, the pandemic has been a revelation, right? So it's like a motivator for moving or launching the digital transformation journey for many of our companies. So same is the case with our organization as well. Prior to 2020, so we were predominantly, our IT setup was mostly internal. We had 2 in-house data centers. All our 100 plus branch locations across the country connected through MPLS, and then all internal applications. So we had a customized ERP, but that was all in-house. So now we are basically into the infrastructure, mining, and construction industry. So our workforce is spread across a very remote location. So the cloud journey actually now in hindsight it has helped in a large way, because previously the employees had to connect to our network or through VPN to get into any of our applications. But right now they are on the go through mobile app. They're able to access every single application that we have. So we started our cloud journey with SAP first. So we moved, when we implemented, we made a conscious decision of hosting it in cloud. Subsequent to that, based on the good experience we had, and also culture shift, which we'll talk about later. So after that settled down, our subsequent migration also happened. Like many of our, we moved our infrastructure, we moved many of our homegrown applications all into the cloud. So it has been a very interesting and rewarding journey, but obviously there are many challenges, many lessons learned, which we will talk about subsequently. So yeah.
I am privileged and honored to share dais with the great minds. And since Sivapriya talked about migration and how she achieved the big infrastructure migrating to cloud, and how much she incurred a lot of cost to the company, right? So you can share your experience.
So I think cloud migration, is a very significant decision for any organization, right? Like it's a huge investment, and hence the sequence of, having a structured sequence of decisions will help to build the process right methodically. And I wanted to emphasize or share a 5-step framework or an approach that can help us to approach this in a more methodical manner. So starting with, I think the first step is to really, really understand the business need deeply, the long-term objectives of your business, and what exactly is the problem that you will be solving through migrating to cloud. It's just not the buzzword. So what exactly are the problems that you're currently facing? What is the business need that is compelling? So for example, just to cite an example, the big data analytics infrastructure migration for PayPal had 2 or 3 compelling reasons on why we decided for the cloud. As the pandemic hit, you would have seen that the digital payment, there was a revolution, inordinate surge in the digital payments, where time to market had become, it kind of was no longer a choice to have a scalable infrastructure. It became the need of the hour to adopt to cloud, such that we are able to scale the infrastructure quickly. Against the capacity issues that we had on-prem, where adding any new hardware could take a cycle time of 6 to 9 months. So that was one of the compelling reasons. The other, through the journey of 2 decades of, storing large volumes of data, the data proliferation and the data sprawl had become really, really a big issue, where building applications or insights was really cumbersome. We have 6 to 8 data lakes, we have 12 data warehouses, we have 12 data lakes, 600 petabytes of data stored everywhere. So we thought that probably bringing together this data in one place could solve or simplify the whole overall data footprint and manage it very well. So that was, in terms of the time to market, one of the compelling reasons of why the public cloud became necessary. The second is by itself in having a stronger data risk management posture, and all of you would be knowing, like, how critical data privacy is becoming nowadays, the security aspects to it, and overall, the analytical infrastructure are no longer serving only reporting needs, but also serving some of the very, very critical use cases where data becomes the first-class citizen, and having consistent ways of accessing data and maintaining it in a very secured manner becomes the need of the hour. And that was also one of the reasons why we felt that embracing public cloud could give seamless features like disaster recovery, like the multi-region comes as a feature when we go to the cloud, versus against not of having these features on-prem. So that's the first step where you really, really understand what problems you need to solve when you move to the cloud. The second step is to now access the readiness of the, your readiness of the cloud, of adopting the cloud. What that means is all the prerequisites that are required for you to be able to migrate from your on-prem infrastructure or your private cloud to public cloud and everything else. That involves designing, crafting a thorough network architecture, that involves crafting a security architecture, that involves discovering and identifying what's the tech stack that you're wanting to go, whether it would be BigQuery, whether it will be Snowflake. You have thousands of technologies that you need to drill down and finalize on which CSP, which CSP would be more meaningful for your engagement, along with what are the capabilities that would be required to be built to be able to facilitate the migration, because all this due diligence needs to be done with laser focus in order to estimate what is the cost and what is the effort that would be entailed or that could be invested by the organization in order to perform the migration, right? So that's the second step. And third step would be, taking a step back and doing the cost-benefit analysis of, see, this is the investment and what is the ROI? And then ring-fencing the scope that, okay, maybe this migration makes sense versus, keeping some of the workloads on premise is more effective, right? So just for example, like we decided that, all the infrastructure that is required for model training doesn't make sense based upon the cost that is incurring on the cloud. So it could remain on-prem and thereby, coming up with more about a hybrid structure rather than just jumping and going to the cloud. So the third step is all about ring-fencing and identifying what is most effective place for running your application. That's the third step. Fourth step is the actual meaty step, which talks about, or where you will be actually crafting your cloud migration strategy by itself and executing on your strategy. And this is the most meaty piece because this requires technology, process, people, culture, all kind of changes that needs to be adopted in the journey. So right from deciding whether you would be doing a lift and shift strategy or whether you would be going with a modernization of your applications and then coming up with an integrate plan because the dependencies will be huge. These programs are usually involving tens and dozens of teams, hundreds of employees across the organizations coming together, collaborating with a lot of cross-functional dependencies and undergoing a cultural change of coming and upskilling themselves in the latest and greatest of the cloud technologies, because not having done this right will lead to a lot of anti-patterns on the cloud. So it's easier said than done, and it's if I were to speak on this, I could speak for several minutes or hours on this topic because I've gone through the journey and know like what exactly are the challenges. But this is the most meaty piece of the fourth step where you will be executing and then cutting over your applications to the cloud. And finally, not the least, but you should also have a very solid post-migration strategy on how you're able to have the oversight, not only of the cost, but on the performance of the applications that run on the cloud, and closely have a feedback loop that you could iterate and keep improving your strategy. So following these 5 steps probably will give you a better methodical approach on how we should be approaching the cloud migration things.
It's elaborated information. Thanks, Shivapriya. Sometimes, right, we choose the problem, and sometimes problem chooses us, right? It's like a multi-cloud. They force us to do GCP. Some application will be running on GCP, and something will be on AWS or vice versa. So it's, I think, Palani handled it effectively, so he will share his experience.
Yeah, well articulated. Yeah, multi-cloud actually it can be by design, or it's forced on you. So we had a mixture of both. So when we implemented SAP, our consideration was the storage. So we chose the cloud partner based on the storage considerations on the the costing. But after that, when we looked at migrating the other workloads, when we did for our homegrown applications. So the consideration was not purely based on the cost. It was also based on, like, for example, most of our homegrown applications are Microsoft based. So obviously, a specific cloud partner, fares better against others. So that was a choice. And when we implemented CRM, analytics was a major consideration for us. So we chose a partner, who could support us more on that front. So initial, considerations were different, but when we, started the journey and continued, obviously, at each stage, we took a calculated move to a specific cloud partner based on our specific requirements and the services that the cloud partner offered. Yeah, and also now, it offers, of course, we went with the feature-based or functionality-based, but now, I think we all spoke about it, right? The lock-in with a specific vendor. So now, with multi-cloud, you always have that, great advantage. So now, anytime, your vendor, your partner knows that you're not tied to them. So you have the flexibility of moving between the partners. So I think that will work for most of the cases. So having multi-cloud helps, in the long term, because initial consideration for going to cloud, one of the reasons is cloud, but then is cost. But then later on, we find that the cost is much more than what you would have incurred when you managed it in-house for many organizations. Some other organizations are doing the reverse trend also. They are moving back from cloud into on-prem. So having the multi-cloud, I think it will address both these challenges. So that will be, for most organizations, maybe some organizations may have specific needs, but otherwise I think it has suited us well, and yeah, it's good.
I think it's a great information, and Vani can negotiate with all the cloud providers for Palani so that you can save some amount. So Vani will give insights about how she negotiated and bring down the cost. Hopefully we can learn a lot from Vani.
Thank you for that. So cloud optimization of cost, I think everyone in the room is really looking forward to see how we can optimize the cost, right, in various ways. And I'd like to tell everyone that cost optimization is no more an operational concern. So it is everybody's responsibilities. That's how we have to look at it, whoever drives it, whether it's an IT organization or whoever, right? So there should be a tight collaboration, first of all, between various departments. Like once you think about, Shivapriya touched a little bit on the strategy, right? Once you put the strategy together as a pre-work, what should be actually put in place is the governance team, and then the architecture team, and then who are the product owners. From there, it comes to the finance team, and then finance team to the application management team. So there should be a close collaboration. Only then, the cost optimization actually can take place. Because today, what happens, and see, I'm going to talk about all practical scenarios that one goes through, right? It's no theory at all. So what happens is we think, okay, so this is application management's responsibility. Whoever drives the project or whoever drives the migration project is his or her responsibility, and everyone else is just looking at them, saying like, okay, you have to reduce the cost. So that's the first thing that's a mindset that we have to bring in, the cloud first mindset everyone has to bring in. So that's a cultural change also, number one. Number two is, as a prep work, what we can do is, where are the areas where we can actually start archiving and staging of the data, the unused real data, just to ensure that we are moving the right data to the cloud. Think about it, like if you have like 5 databases, which with 5 TB data, right? So that itself is going to have so much of data, unused data, which is not even relevant. You're going to take it to the cloud. So there itself, you're saving so much of cost. So this is not that, we have to think about, see, when we think about cost optimization, what we think is it's after the fact. Optimize is only like after you do something, then you try to optimize. Whereas I would really encourage all of us to think like optimization starts even before even the inception happens. That's when you'll be able to optimize the cost, and you'll be able to bring down the cost. And then think about some of the databases which are not used, right? So we may think like, okay, let us keep those databases off. But then, though the computing is not happening, but at least for storage we have to pay if you're moving those databases. So how about thinking of not even moving them? What is the strategy we have? And the third and the most important thing, what is also a lessons learned, which I will cover a little later when I talk, is the exit strategy for the current landscape. When we're moving to cloud, we really don't think about, though we think about the exit strategy, but we think like, okay, we'll see it later. But then what happens is we end up paying like dual cost. And then by the time we realize that, we paid double, it's already too late. And then when people start asking questions, then we don't have an answer. We say, okay, we'll see it in the lessons learned. Yes, and the third thing is, and the next thing is, when we talk about, cost optimization or even migration, the first, when we interact with the CSPs or the other service providers, I think we rely a lot only on the sales pitch. Right? So the sales guys are the guys who speak to your CTO, CIO, and everyone. And there's no lot, we don't involve our technical people at the right time. We involve our technical people only at the implementation stage. And I think that is too late. And sometimes, there is a lot of difference of opinion and understanding. By the time it gets passed on to your application team or the technical team or implementation team, the deal is already done. So think about having that collaboration between the sales team versus architecture team versus implementation team. When those three teams are synced up, I think we will be able to overcome a lot of double cost and also overcome a lot of duplication of work as well. And the other thing that we can already negotiate with the cloud partners is like, what are the discount methods? Leverage the discount method they can give. Some are the discounts that, that can be negotiated. Some are like non-negotiable, like the programming discounts they talk about, right? Where you can just get those as additional features. So by doing this, actually, what we can really do is, before even we, fully migrate, we will be in a position to understand what is the cost that we are going to optimize. So we are always in a comfortable zone. We're not doing everything after the fact. We are already proactive. We are not, being very reactive when we have this, and also making sure that there is someone who is accountable for this cost. But today, in real scenario, everyone is saying that they're busy with migration. All of us, the IT leaders, the business teams, and everybody says they're busy with migration, but nobody talks about who's the actual person who's owning this cost optimization. Because see, everyone's responsibility becomes nobody's responsibility. But if you're not making someone accountable, I don't think throughout the process, we're going to really achieve the ROI that we want to. So business should be involved. Like she was telling, like data is the king today. So we need to understand from business as to what should be migrated and what not. Because what happens is later we end into this confusion loop where business says, no, I want you to move whatever I have. Because they're not confident on IT sometimes. Yes, I think all of us in IT must have heard this several times, like, I don't know what these IT guys are saying. This is what we hear time and again from business because they're not comfortable, they're not confident. So taking business along in this journey is really going to help us because, see, we don't want to make it look like this is an IT initiative. This is not an IT initiative anymore. This is a business problem that IT is going to resolve. When we are having that partnership with business, I don't think they're going to step back when we talk about bringing ROI, when we talk about cost reduction. And cost optimization should be a natural process. It should not be like we're making an effort to reduce like 1 rupee, 2 rupee. No, it becomes a natural process when you drive the migration and like what happens after it, like the disaster recovery plan. When you're going for the public cloud. So today with the COVID, there were ransomware attacks on so many organizations. And in the previous, I was attending a previous session like this, and one gentleman really brought it up, and it said like if the data is not managed well, it can bring us on our knees actually. So if the data is not secure, data security is that important. privacy is that important. So how are we negotiating with the CSPs in ensuring that we are getting these value adds? And one last thing I would like to say is, let's not fully rely on the CSPs, saying that whatever they say is right, whatever they do is correct, and I'm just going to fully rely on them because I'm paying to them. No, we all have our share in it as an organization and see like how we can partner with them, and we need to also develop our skill sets internally. That's a very important thing. Because we say like today, cloud first mindset, everyone says, but how many of us are developing in-house skills for cloud? Not all of us. We want to rely on CSPs and we say like they're taking care of it, let me just manage. So I think it's high time that we move away from the manage mode and take control so that we are able to, optimize the cost. Yeah, thank you.
And on top of that, I want to add few points like even developers, right? Even if you're building a complex pipeline or anything, you first check for over provisioning, whether we over provisioned or anything, and housekeeping activity should be initiated, and cost billing should be transparent. Entire developer in that org up to the developer level, it should be visible, and they will come and suggest us sometimes, right? In a QA environment, there might be a 4 Airflow instance running. That can be merged, and it directly gives you a $2,000 savings, as well as SageMakers or GCP or GPUs, right? If you go for a SageMaker, machine learning team always wants a SageMaker with a lot of GPUs for the training purpose. And initially, at the last year, it's like a condition was very good, and if they ask for 1 GPU, that might be a provision 3 or 4, because they want to develop the model immediately. And now it's like we are crying, and they still sitting in that level because they are not aware of the cost, because they want to finish their work as quick as possible and then move to the next thing. And transferring that as a culture to the team, right? If, for example, in my arc, they set a 40% cost reduction for clouds as my goal. So if I didn't achieve, I won't get my variable pay or stock option. So it is a big challenge for me. So I need to cascade to the team, right? Everyone. Now they are running behind me, so I given the same goals to my team. So they are now forcing me to do corrective actions. And we shut down the POC account completely. And we said from Mumbai region we migrate to North Virginia region, because the cost is very lesser. And if you take around 90% of the workloads which running in the POC environment is not needed now, because it was done 6 months back and still running, because no one is accountable for that. But now we are getting the benefit out of running all the cost activities. Any questions? Shall we go for the questions? Yes, sir.
Thank you very much for this wonderful information. I have a question which is at the macro nature, and I see the young minds who could possibly think about the challenge that we are going to face. Now, in the new education policy, the government has come out with all the records of all the students are going to be there every year, anytime entry, anytime exit kind of a situation. And they have this ABC, Academic Bank of Credit. And just imagine every year, more than 100 million records have to be put in, they have to be managed. And over a time, I think it will be 200 to 300 million candidates or the students' data is going to be there. It has to be managed. And what kind of a challenge that you see? Where are the the pain points that are going to be? Are we really ready to embrace this kind of a challenge as a country where we have 200 million students every year have to be, not just 1 year entrant, but somebody doing 3-year course, 4-year course, so many semesters, all the data have to be managed and kind of thing. What do you see as a challenge if you are put in charge in the team? Thank you.
Sir, managing the data won't be a challenge at all, because see, it's easily manageable, and we need to choose the right tech stacks. For example, if it's not a real-time hot, cold, warm, or lukewarm data, And here, right, we can partition it based on the year, or that is the basic simple partitioning logic based on the demography, or number of the years of pass out, or based on the year. And we can mine the data, and analytics we get out of it, right? For example, Tamil Nadu government want a lot of other informations to, make the underprivileged students providing some schemes or running some schemes, right? They are running a lot of schemes. So for that, if they have a proper data, it will reach the person perfectly. I spoke to one government job person who is taking care of all the disabled persons. They are providing job opportunities, as well as they are enabling them by providing self employment opportunities as well. They're providing a loan and subsidies for that. Before Aadhaar, it's like a lot of people can cheat them. Now with the Aadhaar, it will know they have a record. It's saying that if they disperse the amount, it's saying that this is not a valid, and they are blocking the disbursement, because disbursement happened via bank, and they are validating with the data, right? We talk about corruptions and a lot of things, but now because of the data, we are able to narrow down who it should reach. So government's bigger challenge is like it's whether they are announcing a lot of schemes, but it's not reaching to the bottom, right? But with the data, it's able to do it. And handling the data, it's very easy. Even billions of records, or as Shivapriya said, right? They might be handling terabytes or petabytes of data daily. So handling it's very easy.
I had read somewhere that over the last, I think, century, the amount of data that had been created has now been created within the last 2 years or something. Like, the pace at which data is growing is phenomenal. And data certainly becomes the new fuel. And the way you need to store and derive insights is the key. Because it all depends upon all this, what we are talking, right? Like today, if we go and browse any mobile, immediately you start getting related ads, and we are actually so intrigued by the privacy element of it. So to your point on, the storing of all the student information could be a rich fuel, which could be used for various insights. Technology is not a barrier. It's, one of the reasons that cloud can be embraced is in order to store data in a very, very efficient manner. When it comes to storage, right, the modern data architectures that rely on columnar data storage can store billions of records, like petabytes of data, in a very, very efficient manner. So, things like BigQuery on the Google, which is columnar data storage, can store very, very effectively with very less latency time also. Like you can retrieve the data very faster. So technology certainly is not a barrier, but the way you organize your data and then take insights out of it is the intelligence where, again, things like AI are disrupting and creating those unimaginable insights that were never there before.
Absolutely. Just to pile upon what Shivapriya has said, I think I would not say there'll be a problem or challenge with the storage, because cloud itself talks about, it's about, sustainability. It is about agility, and also how efficiently it provides the data, and also with security. So, and also it depends on how you really want to have the data. Like we talk about so much of data, but then that's where the intervention happens through AI. With manual intention, yes, but then if you want to speed it up and make it even more efficient, I think the best way is through AI and do it. But I think the roadblock, or I think it's the change of mindset that all of us have, that how my data is going to be secured. And the availability is also a concern that we were thinking about. When we are, as an organization, we are one of the early adopters of cloud. So the questions that came from business, or even for people like us in IT, is like, okay, so how am I going to make sure that we have availability? And then how is the scalability? And then data protection and all these things. So to answer your questions, I think we have to embrace it, and also have that confidence that yes, it is feasible, and with the interventions like AI and stuff like that would really help us.
Any other questions?
Oracle.
Still so.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I predominantly work on AWS, Azure, GCP, Oracle, all the cloud flavors. But I just want to understand from you, because each one of you has got different background. So how do you choose a cloud provider based on what you want? Say, for example, technology is provided by all the providers, be it AWS or GCP or Azure. But how do you choose and how do you buy the right services? If you can give some insights about your experience, that will be helpful.
Yeah. I think I briefly touched upon, like, the criteria based on which we chose, our cloud service providers, right? Like, for example, I don't want to name them, but then when data storage is going to be our, key criteria, if you're going to have, like, Shiva said, it's your, you have terabytes of data, obviously, your cost for the data storage becomes a key criteria for, choosing your CSP. So that's one. And then, some service providers are specifically very good in, ML and AI, right? So if your applications, if your workload is going to, depend a lot on, that aspect, then obviously, you choose another service provider. Like I said, most of our, homegrown applications were based on Microsoft products. So obviously, a specific, like it's Microsoft Azure, obviously they score over, all the other CSPs. So like this, maybe cost is one criteria, but obviously the specific services that each CSP offers, that defines your, that helps you finalize on one specific CSP.
And who are giving a best discount, right? You will choose them. Another thing is, like, if you want to list out in the marketplace, right? If you want to leverage the Azure marketplace or AWS, whoever it may be. So if you, for example, if you're a startup and you want to leverage their marketplace, it's like we having a bigger marketing team for us. So in my previous arc, we develop a AIOps platform, and we predominantly depend on Azure. They take us to ICICI sort of banks. That if we step in and go and pitch, right, they not even allow us inside the campus. But because of Microsoft, we are able to crack the deal. As for startups, like who are providing a best marketing solutions, also will be add a more advantage because we can leverage it easily.
And I would like to thank the ladies and gentlemen present here in the dais for such a valuable session. Thank you once again, and I request Mr. Sivakumar Krishnasamy to felicitate our esteemed panelists. Memento courtesy, Fuji Electric. Ladies and gentlemen, let's give them a big round of applause. Check. And I now request Dr. Vani Gopalan to felicitate Mr. Sivakumar.